Hello friends, and welcome to another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the rich Star Trek universe. Last week, the third episode of Star Trek Lower Decks premiered. It was called Temporal Edict, and these are my honest opinions about it. And as I said last week, I won't go into many details about the plot. These videos will be more about the kind of first impressions. And as always, this is going to be extremely subjective, since different people consider different things to be funny. It's normal if I say that something is not funny, you will find it hilarious. So, this episode was interesting. I think the best way how to describe it is that I didn't find it very funny, except for something like 3 or 4 good jokes, but I enjoyed it. It's a weird thing to say, but I start to think that the biggest problem of this comedy is the fact that it's trying to be a comedy. It really reminds me of the Orville. The series also got better when they stopped to desperately be funny, and instead they started to make a good show with a few funny scenes here and there. I start to think that maybe this is what the writers and producers of Lower Decks should be doing. We start again with a scene which has nothing to do with the story, and as always it's not funny, even though it should be and it tries to be. Boimler has a public performance in the bar, he plays the violin and he's doing a pretty good job. So what does Mariner do to destroy it for him? Well, she kicks him off the stage, and together with Tandy they play some heavy rock music. The bass is apparently so heavy that it shakes the whole ship, and it's being heard also on a near Klingon ship. Somehow. And the Klingon captain wants to kill his engineer for it. I guess that's supposed to be funny. The captain wants silence, so she sends the security chief to the bar, but when he arrives there, Mariner and Tandy are already gone, and Brad is about to start playing again, so the security chief breaks his violin. Again, Brad Boimler does nothing wrong and gets punished for it. Meanwhile, Mariner does everything wrong and she gets away with it. Nothing funny or interesting here, but thankfully it gets better. When the proper story starts, the captain is angry, and because they have been taken away of a peace mission, the ship and her crew have a reputation of being a bunch of slackers and hacks, which is not wrong. The thing is that basically all of the Lower Decks people invented a so-called buffer time, meaning they intentionally say that they will need much more time for fixing things than really is necessary, and they can have some free time. The existence of this buffer time is a well-kept secret until the captain gets it from Boimler, who misspeaks. So the captain gets angry, and now every task has a deadline which they have to keep, which is almost like real life. I mean, whoever thought that having a job would also mean that you will have to work, right? Boimler enjoys the deadlines, he has no problems working on all of his tasks, but everybody else is in full panic mode. Mariner goes on an away mission with the first officer, Commander Ransom, and that's where the B-plot starts. The plot, which is the reason why this episode feels like a Star Trek story. Our crew wants to give the aliens a crystal because they are obsessed with crystals, but instead they give them a piece of wood. It is really dumb, but it's entertaining, which I guess is a good thing for a comedy. Long story short, Mariner and Ransom are held in a cell and are forced to choose which one of them will fight to the death with their strongest warrior. I had a semi-laugh when they started to argue, because both of them are willing to die to save their friends, which is beautiful, and I never expected to see something like this in this show. But a huge laugh followed soon. Mariner had a nice speech why she is the correct one to go to fight, and Ransom agreed with her. and then he stabbed her right to the foot, so that she can't walk and he can go fighting. That was so shocking for me to see that I couldn't stop laughing for a moment. Ransom then beats the crap out of the warrior, and Mariner even says that it's hot, probably because he does it Kirk style and topless. So hooray, they won and can return back to the ship. What is meanwhile going on the ship? Well, the aliens arrived there and started to attack them with spears and graffiti. Weird, but okay. The crew wants to get rid of them, but the captain says that they should learn how to multitask and fight the aliens and do their work at the same time, meaning everybody just hides. Boimler notices the graffiti and starts to clean it using his phaser, because that's how graffiti works, I guess. They surround him with their spears and tell him to surrender, because they have surrounded him. To which he replies, yes, but I have a phaser, and calmly starts shooting them one by one. Another moment where I couldn't stop laughing for a while. It felt like I was watching an 80s direct-to-VHS action movie, and that's a good feeling. Anyway, he gets to the bridge, he tells the captain that she's a good captain, even though it's a clear lie, but whatever, and she orders the crew to ignore the deadlines and just kick them off the ship, which they do, so the aliens are defeated, and the buffer time is restored. In the end, Ransom apologizes to Mariner in sickbay, where she's being treated by the cat monster who serves as the ship's doctor. He thinks that she's going to report him. Mariner, however, has a change of heart, and it even looks for a moment they are going to kiss. And then Ransom arrests her because she didn't roll the sleeves on her uniform down when he ordered it to her. Another moment I didn't expect, and another big laugh from me. Unfortunately, the final scene ruins it completely. The buffer time thing gets an official named Boimler effect, and Brad is not happy because he actually likes schedules and deadlines. But everybody tells him that he shouldn't be afraid because nobody will remember it. So of course, in the end we have a time jump, and in the far future he is remembered for it, and the greatest human who ever lived is Miles O'Brien, because references. The ending is so dumb. I just hate these pointless references. I think that this was the best episode so far. Yes, the characters of Boimler and Mariner are still awful, but Mariner actually starts to slowly turn into a decent human being, and Boimler actually gets to do a heroic thing. Ransom seems to be full of himself at the beginning, but we see later he has a reason for it, and that he is actually a good person inside. However, the story still has no morals. What is the morals of this story? That you should work as little as possible, and when your boss gives you deadlines, he or she is wrong. And yes, the only reason I complain about lack of morals is because they have promised us a proper Star Trek show, with the only exception it was supposed to be a comedy. And it still fails miserably in being a Star Trek show. It feels like the writers have seen an episode of TNG a couple of years ago, so the only thing they can offer us are references and visual similarities. The series constantly breaks continuity, destroys races, ignores the Prime Directive, ignores any militaristic or scientific realism. However, as a standalone animated sci-fi comedy, it really starts to grow on me. We have 7 episodes left. Hopefully the upwards trend will continue. On my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is absolute garbage, 10 is a masterpiece and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 6 out of 10. But as always, these were just my opinions. Let me know what did you think about this episode down in the comment section, and see you very soon, hopefully tomorrow. Bye.